hopefully not too difficult for those of you who are new to the meditation. You managed to follow it all right? Do you think you could remember it if you had to practice it on your own? Could you remember the technique all right? Well, today we make a transition to a new set of lectures. The title for the series is Meditation and Self-Transformation, and the idea is that it can build upon the skills which hopefully, for those of you who were here before the Christmas break, you have already from your meditation practice. So it's like taking your meditation practice and starting to put it to work in order to bring about some transformation for the better in your life. We'll also build in sort of a sequential meditation and guidance too, for the benefit of those who are just arriving for this course. But the main brunt of the course will be to do with harnessing that for spiritual progress, learning about self-image, attitude to life and choices, and how those actually feed back into your meditation experience as well. Using your life to help your meditation, so instead of just meditation helping your life, getting some things in your life to help your meditation back again. And today we'll start to look at, well, that'll be next week, or some orientation for the course, models of transformation which are available to us, and the challenges that we are up against as self-cultivators. So, yeah, on the course, because there are generally a lot of us, we try to keep an atmosphere that's conducive for meditation by keeping silent when meditating, entering and leaving the room quietly when necessary, speaking softly and keeping topics of conversation to skillful things, keeping our cell phones under control, and asking, feeling free to ask if you have questions, or especially at the end of the lectures if there's something I can expand upon further. Also try to be on time if you can. It's always good to be here for 7 if possible, and then we get to sort of introduce ourselves and know each other. Not to stretch our feet forward or lying down, using lap cloths where necessary, wearing white if necessary, if possible, or a light color. Starting out on this journey is not a simple matter. It's not just like what would you call it, falling off a sofa or whatever. Yeah. There's some special sort of skills involved with sort of changing yourself into a better person. Otherwise, everyone would have done it a long time ago. And some things which are advised for people who are setting out on this long and tortuous path are to have goals which are clear in your mind. So maybe rather like New Year's resolutions. If you don't have any at all, then you're likely to achieve absolutely nothing. You know, even if New Year's resolutions are hard to keep yourself to, it's better than not having any, because then you achieve absolutely nothing. Keeping an open mind, because some things that we are studying are not immediately obvious to us, like how they're going to work. So you have to sort of give them a chance sometimes to kick in. You know, it takes time. Try to pick on the things that you can find some practical use for immediately. So take the things that are useful to you, which are obviously useful to you, and the other things sort of leave them to sort of kick in their own time. Some of the harder stuff takes a while. Sometimes we are used to sort of instant gratification for everything. If you ever tried growing trees for gratification, sometimes you need to wait longer. Someone who grew trees I knew in New Zealand said the trees he was planting now he felt very happy about, because his grandchildren would see them grow to their full height. So sometimes they have different scales of what you would call instant in the world of gratification. And working on yourself tends to be in the sort of slower category. But spend a little time on it each day, and there will be some progress for you to see. And if things don't make sense to you personally, then try to take out the things which do mean something to you personally. Because in the end, you have to make it your own. Yeah. And although things are usually coated in rather a lot of materialistic jargon and things and appeal in the world in general, we need to get beneath that. That's the difficult part with self-transformation. Knowledge is on different levels. Generally, we would call ourselves a knowledgeable person if we had got ourselves through high school or whatever and almost filled ourselves up with all the content of the textbooks, then we would consider ourselves a knowledgeable person. But when we talk about knowledge in the context of self-transformation, it comes in different sort of levels of meaning. There's the sense-based knowledge, the things that come to us from the outside world. There's the hands-on knowledge, which is sort of practical skills and applications. And then there's what's known as insight. So what would come from a still mind with meditation. Where do you get it from? Sense knowledge tends to come from the world around us. For example, you might get a textbook about the characteristics of fires, and from reading such a book you would learn that fires are hot, and it would be foolhardy to put your hand in the fire. So you know about that in theory. And it's useful because you can then go and warn other people about how dangerous fires are, even though you may not have even seen one yourself. So sense knowledge, what we tend to get in schools and colleges, has limited use, but it has some use. It gets you some credentials possibly at the end of it, by which you can go and sign up for a job somewhere. Hands-on knowledge actually is in more demand, even amongst employers, and the interesting difference is that it has some practical element to it. And this is why, if you actually ever put your hand in a fire, somehow it's much easier to remember how hot fires are than reading that textbook however many times. Yeah, it makes a bigger impression for sure. And other practical skills where you've actually taken your knowledge and put it to some practical use, of course, that you sort of remember it with your body, not just your mind. And you can even transfer that knowledge to new situations as well. That's, you can learn how to mend a motorcycle. You can apply the skills to mending a car. There's transferable skills involved, which are to do with being hands-on. When we come to the world of meditation, though, we're talking about a different sort of knowledge. It's not, some of you may have even tried to learn meditation from a handbook somewhere before, and you sort of turn the page and you say, close your eyes, and then what do I do next? You have to open your eyes again to turn the page. Some things you just can't learn it in the textbook scenario. So it's obvious that it's a different sort of knowledge. And the input actually comes from inside us rather than from the outside world. So we have to get our mind into a certain sort of zone in order for that to sort of come through to us and to be a learning experience. The deeper understandings of meditation are actually ones that don't just change what we know about, but they change how we know about it and the sort of person we are in that situation too. When we sit down for meditation, we stand up afterwards a different person, if it works properly. And this is what we depend upon for uprooting personal failings or whatever, and to build up on our strengths on a personal level. And these are the sort of strengths not that you would maybe expect to have on your Facebook page, but the sort of strengths which maybe people would talk about you in your when they eventually have your funeral. Yeah? The sort of, it's not just ephemeral nice things, but the sort of character which you have built up the whole of your life. This is what we're talking about. So insight knowledge is at the base of this. Some people are more or less able to avail themselves of such knowledge. And you might say, well, why are you sitting here when a lot of other people are maybe having a completely different approach to self-transformation or no approach at all? And you might say you have a sort of gift for this. But where should such a gift come from? It could be because of your parents. Maybe you can think back to the qualities of the sort of, not just settling for what life throws at them, but sort of, improving on things. Maybe that's come from your parents. Maybe you had particularly, parents of strong character who have sort of somehow instilled that in you. Could be. Sometimes it comes from the way we have used resources. If we've had to go through hardship, often we learn to use what we have in a more fruitful way. Maybe that teaches us something. Even the way we use our time can sometimes have an influence on how we value what we have in our life. Sometimes it can be to do with our age. I'm not saying that young people don't feel the sort of urgency, but sometimes as you go through life and you see the value of life more, then there's a sense of maturity where you feel, you want to do something to be remembered by, perhaps. So what's the point of it? Generally, we start to turn our mind to think about self-transformation when life deals us heavy blows, or life puts it in a situation where we realize what we have, even though we're pretty happy with ourselves before, is not adequate for the situations we are finding ourselves in. When you were all by yourself with a fairly low-grade job, not too many challenges in life, then you felt pretty contented, you're making a success of things. But then they give you a promotion. And the saying that they promote you to the level of incompetence, they promote you as high as you can get without making a complete flunk of it. Yeah. So sometimes it's because we have to bring up our children, and we notice that our children are getting all the bad habits that we really hate. Where did our children get these habits from? This is terrible. And then you suddenly realize that they got all the habits from you. And then you think, well, what am I going to do about this? I don't want my children to catch the bad habits I have, then I better start being an example to them. So you are forced by your children to have to be a more exemplary example. Yeah? Scary children. Or sometimes you find that there are situations where you lose your temper. So how can you work on that in order to, keep your dignity? Sometimes you are put through the tests of life, things like bereavement, illness. You get your doctor telling you got 6 months to live or something, even if it's not true. That makes you think a bit. Culture shock, maybe from traveling and meeting up with cultures which really throw you from your comfort zone. That may cause you to reflect on your own strengths and weaknesses. Living up to management expectations when you get that promotion, and then you have to be sort of like management material, and you're just not ready for that. You have to somehow catch up with what's expected from you. So these are things where self-transformation may actually help in a back to front sort of way. Or when you find a particular friendship or marriage is breaking up and you don't know what to do about it. You don't, it's not enough to put the blame on the other side. You need to change something in yourself to mend things. And you need to do it quickly. You realize that something is not quite good enough. And that could be you improving yourself to mend the situation. So these are things that sort of wake-up calls for self-transformation. So how to actually go about it? There are some different sorts of recipes for how people might go about transforming themselves. I could have picked any of many different spiritual traditions to look at. Have you heard, for example, of Kabbalah? No? Yeah? It's supposed to be little Israel around here. But Kabbalah is one example of a model of self-transformation, which you can apply to yourself if you look at it on a deeper level. Here I've got one from, I think it is Confucianism, so-called 10 Bulls of Paul Reps. You see why it's called 10 Bulls. But there's this guy, little guy, and he is sort of an average guy and probably going through life and never thought about self-transformation. But then he realizes maybe there's something more to life than this. So he starts to search around for a bull, because a bull is known to be something which, if he can manage to catch the bull, tame the bull, then the bull is a sort of symbol of self-transformation somehow, of an improved life or an improved self. So first of all, he may not even believe that such a thing really exists, something like enlightenment or success in life or becoming a better person. Maybe it doesn't even exist. But then he finds the footprints of the bull, which means, well, it's no longer a legend anymore. Even if he hasn't seen the bull yet, but there must be one somewhere. And if only he can follow the footprints for long enough, then maybe he will find the thing making the footprints. So this idea of self-transformation, actually it exists. So he starts to follow the footprints. Next thing, he catches a glimpse of the bull, maybe hiding behind a tree. Is the bull under his control yet? No, but at least he's seen it, which means it exists for sure. It's not just someone making up footprints. Okay, so the next thing to do is how to tame the bull. You know the bull exists, but how to tame it. So this is rather like the mind in some senses. So with his rope, he manages to lasso the bull. Is it under his control yet? No, but it's getting there. And I think what you have to do next is wrap the rope around something immovable. Rather like the mind. You have to wrap your mind around something immovable, like the center of your body or a mental object, in order to get the mind to stay in one place and become calm and tranquil. Yeah, so full of metaphors here. Eventually, he manages to tame the bull, because after it's finished pulling against the immovable object for long enough, it gets tired. Rather like the mind. If you get the mind to keep coming back to the center of the body often enough, then before long it actually starts to get calmed down, tamed, and actually stay. And at that point you find that your meditation experience starts to kick in a much bigger way. So he's actually getting to the bull to walk after him now. Later on there's a new sort of mastery involved, where you can actually sit on the bull and ride the bull and get the bull to go wherever he wants while playing the flute. So obviously it's not that hard to get the bull to do what he wants anymore, rather like the mind at a certain degree of mastery. Next one, he manages to reach the place which is calm and tranquil. You notice there's no bull anymore. Why? Because the bull wasn't the point. Yeah? So what was the point? The bull was only a means to an end. So taming the mind was a means to an end to get to calm tranquility, seeing through to the meaning of life, the value of life, this sort of thing. So here he is, under the full moon, admiring this new realization of the world as being a place full of meaning. And then comes the void, where nothing exists or doesn't exist, which is some sort of sense of realization and oneness which goes beyond even the sort of enjoyment of things. And then from there, even the guy is not there anymore. And little birds fly around, and leaves fall from the trees, and the weeping willows blow in the wind, and everything is. Yeah. Got too mystical for you yet? It's only orientation today, after all. Yeah. And then the guy is back again, and he, along the way, meets with some old sage, and maybe at this point he's ready for those words of wisdom. And then last but not least, it said he returns to the marketplace, which is from all that spiritual sort of endeavor, something which stays with him, the wisdom that stays with him, he can bring it back into the world again and make it part of the conventional life, where he now has new inspiration to bring that spiritual wisdom into the sort of the mundane life. So it comes full circle. Yeah. Another very quicker way, this is from our own tradition, is starting with basic virtues, things like overcoming bad habits, getting better good habits, making oneself useful to society, having harmony in one's family life, becoming a pillar of society, then moving on to spiritual things like readiness of mind, basic virtues of mind, higher virtues of mind, overcoming mental impurities, and eventually reaching towards freedom from mental impurities. So that would be a sort of a Buddhist take on things. Again, there's a sort of sequence to it. And different spiritual traditions, you'll find the same sort of thing. Heard about Pilgrim's Progress? Yeah, very ancient. That's a Christian sort of version of it, also done as a sort of journey. So every spiritual tradition has these sort of esoteric sort of pathways with a sequence of exercises which lead you through to some sort of self-development. So whatever system you use, you will come across challenges. As I said, it's not easy. If it was easy, then everyone would have already done it by now. And it's only a few, people from the millions in this country who have made it here on a Wednesday night to actually talk about self-transformation. So it can't be as easy as it seems. But in brief, there seem to be three things which we are up against as those interested in self-transformation. First is developing some sort of vision. And I don't mean just like getting good at meditation, but I mean vision of how we want to, where we're going. Yeah. There's a sense of having a commitment to practice and integrating that into our practice. And there is keeping open the effective channels of communication. And this course takes 11 weeks. If you want to add in extra things like little however many day retreats and meditation skills too, then it takes, we'll have different talks which will address these three challenges. And the things we'll look at in terms of vision are the priorities that we have, how to set them, and then the obstacles that we're up against. Yeah? So this is a sort of map of what we'll look at over 11 weeks. In terms of integration and commitment to practice, we're talking about how we bring meditation out into the other things that we do in life. And this may concern the things we use, the way we take decisions, and the choices that we make, especially the things that we make use of in this material society. And communication means not cutting ourselves off from others as a result of our interest in inward or spiritual aspects of our character. So, how to get along with others, integrating in an outer life, perfectionism, unconditional compassion, leading human dignity, almost like a pathway to leadership in some ways. Yeah. So these are the things we will be looking at over the weeks to come, in the little period after the meditation each Wednesday evening. Yeah. Meditation goes along with all of these things, and you could say it's like the backbone of all of this, because without the meditation then there is really no meaningful self-transformation. And for those of you who are new, I would like to say that although meditation here on a weekly basis may seem like a big deal already for those of you who've just started out, ideally if you can make meditation part of your daily practice, that will be the thing which will ensure some sort of progress for you in your practice, inward practice, that is. So just now we had a meditation for half an hour, but I would recommend that you meditate for at least 20 minutes at home each day and find the time for that, or make the time for that. As part of your daily schedule is generally a good policy because it's easier to remember, and there will come a sort of rhythm to your life where your mind's saying, it's meditation time now, and you get this sort of motivation to sit down and practice. It could be at any time of the day which you know you're going to be free and not sort of depleted of too much energy, because if you get to your meditation time and just fall straight asleep, then that's not really going to add up to much progress in your meditation. So try to find a time which you know you have good energy and is also free, maybe free of noise as well, is very important in the beginning. Yeah. Some people meditate just after getting up in the morning. If they are early birds, it's a good way to make a nice start to the day. Other people, especially those with sleeping problems anyway, find that meditating just before bedtime is also something that works well for them. They manage to sleep better as a result of that. But alternatively, people meditate in their lunch breaks, meditate in the early evening, whenever you find that sort of slots into your daily schedule. So try to do that if you can, and then you'll see the meditation, you'll see the progress for yourself without anyone having to point it out to you. Yeah. Next time, we will have a look at what you're letting yourself in for. Yes, on this scary journey of self-transformation. Things that you can change about yourself, and maybe the things that you are not yet ready to change, and being able to tell the difference between the two, and the strengths which you bring, which allow you to change maybe more than the next person. And we'll have something more on the 7 bases of the mind, which is the more introductory technique. Anyone has found it difficult meditating the first time today to come to the center of their body, the 7 bases of the mind will give you a way to do that in a little bit more structured way next time round. And hopefully by then you'll have your psychological type results back, so that you'll be able to see which way is probably the easiest way forward for you in your meditation. I think it's about 10 people who are new today. Okay. There is a moment now if anyone would like to ask anything. I know, you're embarrassed. No, Diego is not embarrassed.
Is it too much to ask what are those 7 bases? Would that be at another session? Or?
I'll tell you that next week. But if you go back to that diagram there, the place which we focused at today is the last one of the 7 bases. So it's as if we have jumped directly to that point. And for those who are new to meditation, sometimes they find it hard to go directly jumping to their center. And there's a more gradual way of doing that, which is coming in from the number 1 up at the nose, and then almost as if you're breathing down into that point at number 7, to cut a long story short. Okay? And by practicing that, going down gently through each of the bases, we build up a better familiarity with the center. Most people find doing this first helps them to come to their center more accurately. Not everyone though. Some people just find they don't like details, okay, and they can just sort of cut to the chase sort of thing. But next time we'll do this for the benefit of anyone who has been finding it not very intuitive to get to the center of their body. Yeah. So, good luck with your meditation at home, and see everyone again next week. So we'll start with our meditation this evening, and I'll keep it fairly simple, even for those of you who are new, and maybe next week we'll have a go at the slightly more roundabout version called The Seven Bases of the Mind, just for your information when you've got your psychological type information back for those of you who are new today. So we'll keep it simple so we don't put you off right at the start. Okay, so normally we sit for about a half an hour today, and after that I do a little bit of an orientation for what is a new set of lectures starting this new year. So if you'd like to make yourself comfortable, first of all, if you've not sat for meditation before, then try to be comfortable enough to sit without having to move around too much. Sitting on the floor is good. If your knees reach the floor, then that generally helps make things more stable. Your hands go together with your right hand on your left hand, index finger of your right hand up against the thumb of your left hand, resting in your lap. And if you're sitting on a chair, not to worry, but just try to sit with your back fairly straight. Again, with your hands resting in your lap in the same way. Yeah. So we start by settling ourselves down into a comfortable posture for our meditation. Closing our eyes very gently, in much the same way we might close our eyes to go to sleep. And to relax and slow down, we start by taking a few deep breaths to ourselves. Breathing into the full extent of our lungs, and then breathing slowly and smoothly out again. Once again, breathing in the cool, refreshing winter air. And as we breathe out, perhaps feeling that we are letting go of any of the worries or concerns that may still be lingering on our mind. Meditation is mostly about relaxing our mind. For our mind to be fully relaxed, we need to pay some attention to relaxing our body first of all. And we do that by making a scan down through the whole of our body to make sure each and every muscle is properly relaxed. So starting with the muscles of our forehead, we relax any tension in the muscles there. Moving on down, we relax the muscles of our eyebrows and eyelids. And we pay attention even to the way we've closed our eyes. Because the way we close our eyes sets the tone for the whole of the meditation ahead. So we try to close our eyes as gently as possible. We allow the muscles of our face to become soft. Taking care that our jaw is relaxed, not clenching our teeth together. Taking care not even to purse our lips. Then moving on down to relax the muscles of our neck. If there's tension in our shoulders, allowing them to drop to their natural height. Continuing on down to relax both arms, our forearms, and then our hands and fingers. So the way our hands rest in our lap is as light and gentle as possible. There we continue by relaxing all the muscles of our torso. Our chest, trunk and abdomen. Especially taking care to relax the muscles across our belly. Relaxing both legs, all the way down to our feet and our toes. Until eventually we feel satisfied, but all the way from the top of our head, right the way down to the tips of our toes. We feel satisfied. There's no remaining part of our body with any tension or stress anymore, leaving us with a feeling as if our whole body has disappeared into the atmosphere around us, allowing us to turn our attention instead towards the feeling inside us, a sense of warmth and well-being, which resides in the space of our body. This inner feeling is something that we might refer to as our state of mind, and it's something we can also relax further in preparation for the meditation ahead. But the best way to relax the mind is mostly to do with letting go. Letting go of all the urgent things that may be cluttering up our mind, putting them on one side, at least for now. As all those things were like excess baggage. If we were to make a journey wishing to travel light, then we take only the bare minimum, putting the other things on one side for now. So we try to put aside any regrets from our past, regarding them as excess baggage. We try to avoid the temptation of skipping ahead of ourselves to make plans for the future. Again, being excess baggage. By keeping our mind very much in the present moment and maintaining our attention on the task in hand. The present moment being the only place in our lives that we can really make any change for the better. We gather back our thoughts from all the possible distractions in the outside world, that is, the world outside our body, bringing our attention back to a place inside our body, which is like a sanctuary for the mind, a place of serenity, and a place of protection. Because for as long as our mind remains inside the body, it's somehow buffered against all the negative impacts of the outside world. And for as long as our mind is focused inwardly, somehow it can absorb a sense of peace and serenity from the inner space, in a way that that same feeling seems to spread throughout our body and mind, in a way that leaves no space for any other sort of thought. And when we feel relaxed and refreshed, both in body and in mind, very gently, using no effort at all, we imagine that inside our body is just an empty space or a hollow cavity, without any organs or tissues, without any muscles or bones. Or alternatively, you might like to think of your body as being like a transparent bubble with nothing inside. Whatever your experience of that inner space, allow the focus of your attention to drift slowly downwards on your midline, down through the space of your body until it comes to rest somewhere in your abdomen, around the level of your diaphragm, or at a place that feels most comfortable for you. A place that's comfortable enough for you to maintain your attention there without needing to shift it anywhere else. Some people who've been meditating longer may find that the inner place where the mind rests already has something to focus upon, either something you can see or something you can feel inside yourself that can act as an anchor for the mind. If that's the case, then take whatever comes to you as your object. But if you're new to meditation, it may be that in the beginning you need to make up an object of your own to start with. Such an object can be something visual, like a picture of the sun shining, or something you can feel, almost like that of an invisible fruit resting at the center of your body. And the object will help to keep your mind in place. For as long as your mind is focused on the inner object, then the object will be there for you to perceive. The moment the mind is distracted, then the object tends to disappear, which is not the end of the world, but it means that we have to conjure up the object all over again. And if we're new to meditation, then usually in the beginning, then it's this persistent effort to conjure up the new object until our mind learns to stay on one thing, not to be so easily distracted. So if our mind wanders, we bring it back again to that center point. If the object disappears, we conjure up a new one. However, if we find the inner object changing, then there's no need to change it back again, but we follow it in its new form, always at the center of whatever we see or feel inside us. The other possible obstacle to our meditation is that of having too many thoughts in the mind. Often thoughts are the main reason that we take up meditation in the first place. And in the beginning it may be that the thoughts are almost continuous in the mind, never letting up. If we find that the thoughts are too many simply to ignore, we make use of what's known as a mantra, which is hearing the sound of some silent words repeated over and over again in our mind. Traditionally, the mantra used in this meditation lineage is the Indian word Samma Arahang. So we hear the sound of Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, coming up over and over again from the center of our body, in a way which gradually cuts through those thoughts, leaving in the mind in some semblance of silence. At a certain point in our practice, the mantra may not actually be necessary anymore. We can simply let the thoughts die down on their own. So we cultivate our attention in this way, lightly and gently, with the emphasis on gentleness. Because if we are new to meditation, we may not realize just how gentle we need to be with the mind. It may be 10 times or 100 times more gentle than anything you're used to in the outside world. So try to be gentle with the mind. A feather-light touch is all that's needed to keep the mind in place at the center of the body. If we feel uncomfortable, we can gradually adjust our disposition, but we try to do so in a way that doesn't perturb the stillness of our mind. Otherwise, we continue with our meditation lightly and gently for a few more moments now in silence until we come to the appropriate time.
Any other questions? All right, so at this time, I can invite everyone to make a group offering with me to the Venerable. Keeping in mind this is a donation for the curtains that we all have accumulated together as a group. And as many of you guys know, this is considered a good deed, so this type of energy you can use in your meditation as well. So if I can get everyone to come and make this offering, keeping your mind at the center of your body, and then making a wish for yourself. And everyone else, we're representing the offering, so you can just touch the person in front of you with both hands ideally, because then it's like you're offering the offering with us. All right, and let's respectfully offer it. Okay.
So may all of you progress with ease and without let or hindrance in your meditation, be able to have the courage and ability to affect self-transformation for the good in your lives. May yourself, all of your family, enjoy happiness, prosperity and good fortune in this new year 2017, now and forevermore.
Rejoice in your merits, everyone. See you next week. Thank you.